I will. I will.
This is from Eric.
Okay, we are live, I think. And I have the second camera if there's anything you want me to... Oh,
Okay.
Got my notification.
Yay!
Anything you want me to show off?
Yep.
All right, sorry, we're a little bit late today.
Should we be closing some windows, doors?
Nah.
Loud? No?
Fresh air. Fresh air is good.
Noise.
We're having some work done in the backyard, so the guys had some questions about my measurements. Turns out I was right, and they were wrong. So that's how that went down.
I just want to make sure.
And they were double checking,
Yeah.
which I appreciate before you commit to something.
Measure twice.
Measure twice.
Cut once.
Cut once. Hammer to fit. Okay. All right, I think we're ready to roll here.
We are. We have some stuff to talk about.
Okay.
We went to AWFS and all that stuff.
Wonderful time.
You want to intro the show?
Okay, I'll intro the show. Hey, it's Friday Live. I'm Mark.
I'm Nicole.
And today we're going to talk about some woodworking stuff. We have some things you guys sent us that we want to show off. I've got a bread box that I can give you some sweet peeps on so you can take a look at it.
I'm just going to say this about that.
Oh boy, here we go.
I've been asking for a bread box for a very long time. He
Yeah.
finally caved and gave me a bread box. And now he's basking in the glory of this beautiful bread box.
You asked for it and you have received it and it has exceeded your expectations, has it not?
Yes, it has.
Okay, so we'll show you that in a little bit. But we did go to AWFS in Vegas last week. It was a great time. We were at the Type Bond booth giving away books. Clarification there, people were like, hey, I paid for my book. It's like, well, look, someone did pay for this book. It was Type Bond.
Type Bond paid
They
for it.
paid for the books. Every person that came by, I'm like, 25 bucks, 25 bucks, 25. I mean, like, they didn't get any kind of discount.
Yeah, no.
It was just they paid for the books and gave them out. So that was a pretty awesome experience. Met a lot of great people who watched Friday Live. Everybody wanted pictures with Nicole and wanted to edge me out because that's just how it goes.
No, it's not.
That's how I remember
Yeah.
it. But, you know, Vegas was Vegas. I got a lot of flack for
You
criticizing
did.
Vegas.
I was so mad at you for saying that. I know you said it tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
And
Actually, it wasn't tongue-in-cheek at all.
What you should have said was, I hate the heat. You really do. I mean, we could have
I
been
do, but that's just one of the 4 or 5 things that I don't like about the city. And it's okay. There's lots of cities that people don't like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a city that caters to a very specific type of activity, and I have no interest in it. So why would I ever want to be there in that disgusting heat?
Oh.
You know what I mean? But I get it. If people like it and they live there, that's great. I'm happy for them. I also don't want to live in Florida.
Yeah.
It's too dang humid, and there's alligators running around on the streets. Who wants to live around that stuff? Okay, so
Speaking of hybrid woodworking, we should just right off the bat do the.
okay, that's Essential Joinery, Nicole.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Wrong book, but thanks for trying.
My bad.
Okay, so you want to do a real
It's
quick
all
thing?
the same. It all looks the same to me.
Do you have a link that you could put into the chat room for this one?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so here's the deal. Essential Joinery came out in March, and we had a very short run of hardcover editions. Unfortunately, the first batch of hardcovers that came to us from the printer were slightly flawed. And after all the dust is cleared, we are now left with these books that are just taking up space in my mom's garage and in our upstairs closet. There's no room for coats in the coat closet anymore because it's full of a bunch of these books. So we do have a very limited supply. These are now discounted. They are $20.
$20.
And they are on
$20.
the Guild site store as a flawed hardcover edition sold as is. And there's a little video that shows you exactly what's here. That's got our address
Why is
on it.
that not letting me post that link?
We have a very limited supply, and there is a video there showing you all the detail, but I will very quickly review what's wrong with the book in case you're interested in picking this up. So on the inside, right here, probably about the first third of the pages, right at this bottom 1 to 2 inch area there, they're not really well glued into the spine. So if someone were inclined to take this page and pull on it really, really hard, they might easily rip the bottom half of that. But if you are just perusing a book, like a normal...
No, not missing pages. That's
No,
the
not at
funny
all.
thing. It's like such a minute...
It's a minor flaw, so much so that a lot of people said, no, don't bother sending me the replacement.
Right.
The people who got them initially, before we realized there was a problem, it is still a perfectly usable book. I would not give this book to a 3-year-old because they might rip the pages out. They might rip them out anyway. By the time you get like, a quarter, halfway into the book, you can't see it. You don't even notice that there's a problem. This flaw was very minor, but it was something that prevented us from selling this book at full price.
Yep.
So that's what's wrong with the book. And we still, like I said, we've got some of them and they are priced to move. And if you did buy the hardcover edition and you got the really good one, I know this price is pretty low compared to what you paid, but keep in mind, you already have your book. You have a perfect book. You got a digital version as well, which no one else has at this point. And you got a free project.
Yeah.
So, Essential Joinery, we'll put the link in the show notes, and Nicole has the link in the chat room.
Michael wants to know, how did you find the flaw? We didn't.
Customer alerted us to it. It's not.
First.
Look, this is something that the printer should have caught. They do a lot of hardcover texts and things like that, but it was a small run. And my guess is it just didn't get the kind of QC treatment.
And my guess, there's a few of them that really don't have that
There
problem.
may be some that don't have it, but most of them that I've checked kind of have the same issue, but to varying extents. And I haven't seen anything worse than what I just showed you there. But again, it's a tricky thing. I just wish they would have caught it in the first place and we wouldn't be in this position.
Andy wants to know, he goes, I see a Dunkin' cup. Do they support you now? No, we support them.
Yeah, actually, we'd like to announce our official sponsorship of Dunkin' Donuts. They are sponsored by the WoodWhisperer now, and have been actually for years.
For decades.
So is he new or something? Because
he might be new.
These are on every Friday Live.
We just like Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and we drink it.
I do like the thought of us sponsoring them, though.
I know, right?
That's great. Okay.
I'll send them our logo.
Okay, yeah, they'll like that. All right, so what do we have to show off? I remember these guys.
Yes.
These were people we met at AWFS.
Yeah, this is Eric, and I can't pronounce his last name.
Oh, geez. Lester
Eric L. He is a police officer.
As is his wife.
And his wife, too. We met them at AWFS twice, multiple times. So nice, and I just wanted to thank them for coming out and talking with us and giving me a challenge coin.
Yeah,
I have
thanks,
one for
guys.
you, Eric. I'll be sending it to you.
They were super nice people.
So we also have a
doodad, Nicole.
doodad.
A dingle hopper.
The inventor of this is called the saw set. This came from Ed. Ed emailed me and said, I would like to send this to Mark. And I said, okay. And that is the saw set. And it's basically, it does what the starlit angle finder does. Starlit.
This is kind of like, he says it's like an angle finder, but better.
Yep.
Truthfully, I haven't dug into this.
We just got it.
We just got it, so, but it looks pretty cool.
So thank you for that, Ed.
I'll take a look. I will measure my miters and my angles with pride.
And then you also have this, but you didn't open it and it's sealed. I don't know.
Okay, hand me the box.
Well, let me just open it.
It's gonna take a while.
That's all right.
It's a Kumiko Starter Kit. You're using a pencil to open it, and there's a box cutter right next to you.
I didn't see it! Trying to
You just bring it here, Nicole. Come on. I will make sure our address is hidden.
All right.
So this is...
Just like you made sure the address, or the barbecue thing.
Oh, by the way, the guy who remember we joked about you getting him fired for showing the stuff he told you not to show, like the challenge coin or something like that. I talked to him yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, he goes, hey, that was me. He goes, well, I didn't get fired, but that particular division of the outfit was closed down that week.
Whoa.
Or something like that. And he said he had a good laugh because it was almost like we had caused it. So this is a Kumiko Starter Kit. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but we will in the future.
Oh, hey, Mark. Oh, yeah.
Johnny Trambucus Woodworks.
Yep, JT, search for JT Woodworks.
And he has these for sale. So I know a lot of people have been asking me about this Kumiko business. And this is a nice little starter kit. He's got a bunch. Look, I haven't done Kumiko, so I don't know. I mean, obviously.
This is how to make the popular Asanoha pattern.
Asiogo.
Asanoha.
Asiaga
I think I said that right.
Chicken bread.
I think I said that right.
Okay.
Instructions are under the jigs.
Yes. Okay, so there's instructions there. Obviously, these are little jigs that you use to help plane these pieces. Kumiko is all about getting those perfect little angles and miters and all that stuff. So there's enough material here, I'm assuming, to do a starter project.
Yeah, it's
and all the tools you need for it. So this is great.
And he sells these kits.
Very nice.
At jtwood.works.
That's what I was hoping to get is his website.
Yeah, jtwood.works. And I think he has a number of different kits.
Yeah, so Johnny, thank you so much for sending this. This is probably the push I need to do some stuff. People have been bugging me about getting into the Kumiko.
Oh, Johnny's in the chat. He goes, yep, you said it right. Yay!
Yeah, baby. I knew I would.
Hey, that's very unusual for me.
This is really good.
And he gave a coupon. You can use
maybe we should have read that, huh?
TWW10, and they get 10% off their entire order at
Okay.
JT Wood.
So TWW10, TWW10, and you get
Nice.
a little discount.
That's
That's so nice of
awesome.
you, Johnny. Thanks. For how long? That's the question.
Yeah. Well,
I may show this again in the future. I just wanted to make sure, I appreciate Johnny sending me one of those, so I wanted to give him some promotion. But when
you
I
have
get
to
a
do
chance
an
to dig
Instagram post and put the coupon code up too.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
All right, so that's that.
It's a little hot today.
Well, it's a hot day in Denver.
It is.
What else we got?
Do you want to show off your bread box?
You know I do. You know I do.
You know I
Are we
do.
done with all the stuff?
Yeah, we're
People
done.
sent?
Yep.
All right, so breadbox, guys, get a link ready if you could.
Okay.
This is a project that is going to go out of pre-order pretty soon, which means the price is going to go
yep.
up. August 2nd is the final day to get this in the guild at the discounted pre-order price. So this is my little bread box, and it started out with like a frame and panel design, something really simple, and more and more I looked at it, I'm like, I'm just not happy building this. I want to build something that's more my style, something that I personally can really get behind. And that's what this is. So we have storage up top, little ventilation in the back. You could fit probably 3 loaves of like artisanal breads.
Yes.
And locally grown.
Glown. We're in fallout now.
Locally grown, smaller loaves would fit this way, and 2 long commercial junk bread loaves will go this way.
Your Wonder bread.
The Wonder breads. On the bottom, you could fit 2 loaves of the commercially bag stuff, the Wonder bread type stuff. This little, there's a little catch with a magnet here. That does
Nice.
kind of get in the way, but bread is soft, so you can
Yeah.
kind of just push it under and get it in there.
Yeah, it's fine.
Or you could again fit bigger or smaller.
English
local loaves.
muffins.
But English muffins, bagels, cookies,
Yeah,
even.
cookies.
And I have ventilation on both compartments, both the bottom and the top. The doors are constructed in such a way that they allow a decent amount of airflow. I have bigger gaps on the sides than I would normally have on a piece like this, but I think getting just the right amount of airflow through there is part of the what makes a bread box work effectively. You want it to be dry enough that it doesn't get moldy, but not so dry that the bread dries out very quickly.
Sure.
On the top, I had some fun with a copper punch panel
Quote,
design.
in air quotes, fun.
Yeah, I have the original over there, my ridiculous Stranger Things monster
Yep.
that I made. But obviously, this is wheat, and that came out really nice.
Wheat.
So I really like the color contrast as we go from very heavily figured walnut and these through tenons that catch your eye to a background of something that's very close to walnut, but it's butternut, much lighter in color, but very complementary, even though there's a stark contrast there. But the butternut is very plain, and that's a nice background for another thing that's going to catch your eye, the copper panel, and then these 2 custom pulls that we carve and create there. The front is curved like this, right? And of course I mentioned those through mortise and tenon joints. So this is not your mama's bread box.
Not your mama's bread box.
And this is something that, again, it's available in the guild for the discounted pre-order price until August 2nd. So
You know
do
what I
not
need you to
delay.
make next?
Another bread box?
No, I need you to make a root bin. Potatoes and onions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Isn't that what that drawer is for in the kitchen?
Hey, I'm giving you ideas. I'm giving you gold
Oh, I don't
here.
have any ideas. So I've actually gotten more so than any project I've done in a long time, people whose spouses are really interested in this. They either want to buy it or they want to they want to buy it. It's
I've
not even
seen-
people who want to make it.
I saw on your Instagram, it looked like a wife said, "Hey, let's make this together." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's a cool idea."
Yeah, it's great. So I mean, this is something that if if you do like the craft show circuit, I bet you these things would sell like hotcakes.
Well, how much would you price that for?
$3,000.
No.
That's why I don't sell them, because I would price them too high. It's a hard thing. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, you might want to find other ways to do the joinery. People may not care about those through tenons as much as I did.
I think it
you
looks
lose
awesome.
you lose a lot of time in the through tenons,
Yeah, well.
the through mortise and tenon joints. So if there were ways to speed the process up, you could probably do $100 for something like that easily. Honestly, though, the amount of work that went into this one, I wouldn't be able to charge, and this is why I don't build for clients, because I build things to a level that brings it into that's one of the reasons why I don't build for clients. It brings it to an unrealistic cost that most people would not pay for. Like, I probably wouldn't let that go for less than $1,000, just with the amount of labor and time that I put into it. But I'm not selling it, so
Right.
my opinion on the price doesn't matter a whole lot.
Steven asked if you bought this, would he have a full guild membership? And I said in his chat, yes, but I just want to
Yep.
make sure.
Any
if he's
project.
asking, somebody's probably
Any
wondering.
project makes you a full-fledged guild member, except for the picture frames, because that's the free project.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, so you could hide your wheat, you can hide your cookies.
And with the membership, so we're actually going to do a watch party on this in the guild on
Yes.
Thursday. So if you are a guild member, I think even if you're a trial member,
Maybe.
I
don't remember.
think I sent it out to trial members too. So you'll get to watch, I think, the first 2 episodes of this on Thursday of next week. And it's just going to be live. It's not going to be recorded. But it's a chance for some people that can make it to check out the project.
It's a very important question from Gazankt. He wants me to put, well, it's not a question. He wants me to put wireless charging into the breadbox. It wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, it is in the
Why?
kitchen,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you could set your phone on top of
I
it and get a
guess.
little juice up while you're waiting.
Sure.
I like that idea. All right, so I probably should there is one person we need to thank on Patreon. Forgot to mention that, Brian Walford.
Oh, yeah,
Helped us
Brian.
out. So thank you, Brian. By the way, if you do want to help support the show, a good way to do that is at Patreon, patreon.com/WoodWhisperer. And you could sign up for a monthly recurring donation, which helps support the show and
Keeps us going.
keeps us going, keeps us, money is a motivator for some people. Not me, Nicole. I'm not that shallow.
Me.
I'm not that shallow.
you're
But
calling me
for some people, that's the case.
Do you have the Patreon questions?
I got so many questions.
We do have a lot of questions. Before we went to AWFS, I tried to prep everything, schedule posts, and do things like that.
Hey, so William
Oh, yeah.
Patrick Customs, he's in the chat room. You like the shirt, dude? William Berg says, is there going to be a Bell Forrest kit for this project? Well, look, here's the deal. You guys need to pressure Bell Forrest because they're dragging their feet. Eric over there is really busy, and he's got a pile of stuff on his desk, including getting us the hang chair build, and we just keep doing guild projects.
We're going to keep giving
And
you.
they're trying to catch up,
Yeah.
so I don't know whether we're taxing them a little bit too much with our requests and then the subsequent orders that come in. I have no idea. But we will continue to request them from Bell Forrest, but we can't make them put them on the site any faster.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that would do that is customers saying, hey, Mark's building this thing. When are you going to have those kits available? So.
Michael Lusk, you asked about what the free site is. For anybody that's new, we have
That's a great question.
We have 2 websites. We have the woodwhisperer.com, which has over 300 free videos that you can watch. That's at thewoodwhisperer.com. Then we have the woodwhispererguild.com, which is the online woodworking school where you pay for the projects and you get everything you possibly could need to build that project.
Plus access to a private community
Yep.
of several thousand people just on Facebook alone. And it's one of those, we like to think of it as cutting through the BS.
Yeah.
Right?
So you're not ever going to see any guild projects on YouTube unless it's the condensed kind of sample.
a shorter, condensed
shorter.
version. Closing a door.
Oh, I was like, something's beeping.
A shorter, condensed version of the guild projects, we typically put summary videos anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes long. just because we like people to see how the projects go together, and there's still stuff you can learn from it, but it's not like taking a full course on it, which is what the guild is.
Yeah, that's annoying. I would have just gotten up and pushed the button for you if you need me to.
It's less annoying than listening to leaf blowers and lawnmowers. All right, let's see where we're at here. I've got questions here from Patreon. Joe Clemmer wrote in, he says, you use the domino connecting system on the executive desk. Have you noticed any loosening or joint challenges so far? No. I work at that desk pretty much daily, and I have not noticed anything. Now keep in mind, a well-built desk, if it doesn't move, isn't really getting a whole lot of weird stresses on it. Now, if I was dragging it across a carpet, that might be problematic, but since I installed it, it has sat in that exact same spot. I use it on a daily basis, and those joints are perfectly fine. If I were to move it, I would probably disconnect that center panel so I wouldn't put any extra stress, because there's nothing stopping it from like racking back and forth and twisting. That could be problematic. So if you're moving these things a lot, you probably want to do a disassembly and then reassemble in the new location, not just drag it. Warm?
Yeah, I'm very...
You can go hit the fan.
Can I hit the fan?
Yeah, just put it all the way to the top. That's the slowest speed. Okay. I'll just keep answering questions. Paul Engel says, glue cleanup best practices. Glue squeeze out is killing me. I've read to wipe with a damp cloth and not to wipe with a damp cloth. I've seen people use a straw to clean up the squeeze out. I've seen chisels used after the glue film's over. For me, whatever I do, I still have a mess to clean up, and that means sanding. And that means thin spots in my dimensions. Have you mastered the glue squeeze out issue? I won't say that I've mastered it, but I think I'm in the habit of doing a certain set of things. Now, one of the things that saves me a lot of times is the fact that I don't typically stain my projects. If you stain and you get a little bit of glue squeeze out that just kind of soaks into the wood grain, it's going to reject the stain, and then you see a light spot there. If you don't stain, you're just really clear coating it, so you're not going to see as much if there is a little bit of glue residue. So if you're not staining, you shouldn't have that big of a problem. But either way, it's a good idea to get as much of that glue up as possible. So I'm in favor of letting the glue set up to an extent. Don't let it get hard, just let it get to the point that when you hit it with either a chisel or some kind of a scraper or putty knife, when you hit it, it's not actually just going to explode and spread that glue all over the place. And this way you can actually just isolate the glue and the glue staining to just where those little droplets were, right? And you can just kind of scrape it off, get the bulk off. Now at that point, with that little bit of material that's left, I have no problem with you grabbing a damp rag and scrubbing the heck out of it. The reason people say not to use a damp rag is because it spreads all of that glue around and actually makes the problem worse if you use that right away. So let's say you just finished the glue up, you've got the joint there, and then you hit it with a wet rag, and all that squeeze out just gets diluted and spread all over the place. But I think if you let it set up and then you get the bulk of it gone, now all you have is a little bit of material there, and it's partially dry at this point. You should be able to scrub it with a little bit of water. You're still going to have to sand it because that will raise the grain. You're going to have to give it a light sanding, but you should be able to dilute it enough and clean it up enough that it won't be really that problematic. So I think that's why you always hear different advice, because the wiping happening at different times in the process might change what it actually does. But I think if you do that, you're going to be perfectly fine. I don't have any major problems as long as I do the process I just described.
Michael, I will talk to you offline about the confusion. We have a super chat here from David Hunter. Hi folks, I'm getting to design my new shop from zero.
Oh baby.
I can't do the dream shop, but what key 3 to 5 things should I keep in mind with my approach? Thanks.
Okay, well I don't know about 3 to 5. The first thing that comes to mind is power. You got to keep in mind having proper power throughout the shop, access, if you can kind of map out generally where you want your stuff and you feel pretty confident about that, you can start to target convenient locations for your receptacles. So if you want to do some ceiling mounted things for tools that are in the middle of the floor, like my table saw and my jointer, both in the middle of the floor. The worst thing would be running a cord all the way to the wall. That kind of sucks. But if you can get ceiling receptacles, then they just go straight up, right? So thinking about your power needs, over time, you want to think in terms of how much this stuff costs to add later. It's much cheaper to add a bunch of extra outlets and extra circuits now than it'll be later to hire an electrician to come out and add those things post-construction. So without a doubt, give that electrical a whole lot of thought. Of course, machine placement and layout ties into all of that as well. You want to have a good workflow. Make sure you think about your process, right? So go from raw materials. Where do you bring in raw materials? Where does that raw material go? And then what do you do with the first set of raw materials, the first step in the project? So things like your lumber rack, your miter saw, these are tools that should probably be located somewhat close to your entrance, right? Because it's easy to get that stuff in, out, and start the process of woodworking. Think about your dust collector. The location of your dust collector probably shouldn't be too far from the door either, because guess what you're gonna have to do? You're gonna have to empty a big drum of dust and chips. So the further you have to walk with that, the less convenient that is. In Arizona, I broke that rule because my dust collector was in the far back and I opted to not put a door for security reasons in the very back of the yard. So I had to walk the 55-gallon drum of dust all the way through the shop and out the front door. So think about those things. Think about windows. You want natural light near your workbench if possible. Natural light is always a great accompaniment to a workbench location. Think about things like that. There's so much more when it comes to setting up a shop, but hopefully that'll give you just a little bit of stuff to think about. All right, I got a question here from Phil and Pam Morgan. Oh, just Phil. He says, Phil here. You've probably answered this, but as of this moment, if you could only buy one blade for your table saw to do the majority of your work, what brand, tooth count, geometry, etc.? I would just get the Forrest Woodworker 2. There's
40 tooth or 8 tooth?
40 tooth blade, alternating bevel.
I've heard you answer this so many times, I know now.
It's a standard blade. It's nothing too crazy. Lights makes good blades too. Tenru makes good blades, and Freud. I mean, these are all brands I've mentioned in the past. And again, I'll say the same thing I always say. I haven't tried Ridge Carbide, but I hear good things about it. I think as long as you're getting into that $80, $90, $100 range, you're going to get a really decent blade. And a 40 tooth combo is going to be the sort of blade to rule them all, or it's more fairly a jack of all trades.
I think I put the Forrest Woodworker 2 in our Amazon store. So
okay.
So Amazon.com/shop/the WoodWhisperer is, I have a category, and I finally set up the UK store.
Oh, good.
So if you're watching this and you live in the UK, I am slowly going through and trying to find similar products in the UK Amazon store to build out. So if you go to amazon.co.uk/shop/the WoodWhisperer, you'll find Mark Recommends, Mark's Glue, Mark's Bookshelf, products from TWW Videos, and Friday Live.
Okay, cool.
So I've been playing around with that. So.
Excellent.
And I also have the Canadian one too.
Michael Allen wants to know thinner, wide kerf. I go with full kerf. If you have a table saw that can handle it, a regular cabinet saw, full kerf is fine. Some people like to stay with thin kerf because it uses less material. It's easier for the saw to spin that blade. Generally speaking, you only need to use thin kerf if you have what would be deemed as a underpowered saw, so like your job site saws and contractor saws.
I have a super chat here from Austin Vetch. I don't know what this is, but here, Mark. Super chat. I think it's the $1.99. I think it's the YouTube Premium that you can donate.
Yeah. Well,
so
thank you,
Austin.
That was very kind of you. Okay, so Zoe Snow wrote in, any suggestions on how to deal with analysis paralysis and overengineering when working on projects? Sometimes I struggle to get even the simplest things done due to my brain's ADHD obsession with small details that likely won't even matter. As a software engineer, mistakes are easy to undo. You just press a button, Command-Z, Control-Z, but I can't seem to find that button anywhere in the shop. Do you know where I can find one? So this could be a very large topic, how not to get bogged down in the details by overanalyzing. And sometimes the way we get information these days online is like a flood. It's like a fire hose of information. So, there was a time when I would seek out woodworking information, let's say back in 2004, 2005, 2006. I was really limited by my budget. How many magazine subscriptions could I afford? How many DVDs or VHS tapes could I buy at the time? I think it was all DVD at that point.
Was DVD.
How many classes could I afford to take, right? Well, now it's not quite the same thing because everybody's got a smartphone and everyone can get to YouTube. So what happens is you're overloaded with so much information before you even step foot in the shop. I can understand why someone would be in there second guessing themselves constantly because they've just been exposed to so much, arguably too much, before they've done enough in the shop to actually be able to weigh what is worth taking the extra time for and what isn't.
Right.
So you're an engineer. It sounds like you understand that when there's a set of rules that dictate how something should go, you could probably follow those rules, right? So what I would recommend doing is looking at these tasks you're getting hung up on. Put them on a scale. Put them on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 to 10, in terms of rationally, when you're not in the shop, put your rational head on and decide if they're important, how important they are on that scale of 1 to 10. So if I'm talking about those last little pigtail surface scratches in the surface as I'm applying finish, and I want to figure out how big of a deal is that. Again, you have to rate these for yourself, but it sounds like you're identifying these things as not that important. So you should be able to decide what's critical, what isn't. Is it a mortise and tenon joint that's completely off, causing a rail to join to a leg at the wrong angle, or it's super loose, right? That's a pretty high priority to fix. But if we're talking about a little tiny piece of tear out on the end of a board that goes inside a cabinet that you never see, that's really low on the scale. So that's what I would do. I would try to write this stuff down. You're an engineer, so you're probably very systematic in the way that you approach these things. Lay it out, and then when you find yourself going down that rabbit hole, look at your little quick reference and go, this is pretty low on the scale. This, anything 5 or below, I'm not going to spend more than 5 minutes on. Right?
Do you think picking a project that's already been predefined will help also? I know for me, doing the quilting stuff, this was it was laid out for me. It wasn't like I ventured off and designed something else.
Yeah, because if you have that, you have an end goal, right? You have a very specific end goal, and then you just keep in mind that the end goal is finishing that project. But a lot of us are process oriented, so we get so bogged down in the process that we lose sight of the final goal. So having a distinct end game is really important. But I think he might still get lost in the details if it's like, well, I'm trying to make this bevel and it's not totally perfect. And again, you just have to evaluate how much these things truly matter and then make your decision based on that.
Zoe might be a female. Zoe might be a female.
Maybe. Is Zoe
It is a female's name.
Is like a unisex name?
I'm not sure.
Is unisex the right term for that?
Well, male or female.
We're really great at this, guys. Okay, well, I apologize if I referred to Zoe as a man. Regardless, you're all woodworkers to me.
Yeah.
I don't see sex, Nicole.
I know.
Okay, Mike Davies wrote in, or do you have one you want to do?
Do my super chat right there. I love Michael.
I love Michael.
Said, favorite Borderlands 2 character?
Oh boy, here we go.
A, Tiny Tina, or B, Tiny Tina? Definitely Tiny Tina.
I never stop hearing about Tiny Tina.
So Michael, I don't know if you know, I have a video game podcast. It's an audio podcast called Ladies of Leet. And I just released a new episode just the other day. And at the very end of the audio clip is nothing but Tiny Tina audio.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to put a link in the show notes. I'm going to pimp my podcast. How about that?
Yeah, that's fine.
And if you like video games, give it a listen.
So Mike Davies wrote in. He says, "Do you have a machine maintenance schedule, like oiling bearings, cleaning bandsaw tires, tightening bolts, waxing surfaces, or you just deal with those things when you notice that they need it? Just had to tighten a few bolts on my table saw and noticed that my bandsaw tires could use a cleaning. Should be wondering if I should be proactive and have a schedule rather than being reactive." Okay, well, this is one of those things, Mike, where I'm going to tell you what you should do, then I'm going to tell you what I do. They're two different things. You should have a maintenance schedule. Anybody who uses any particular tool and relies on those tools to work and function well should probably have a maintenance schedule. Realistically, though, most of us don't. And especially if you're a hobbyist, your hours that you're clocking are so small compared to what these tools are actually built to endure that typically your maintenance schedule could be a yearly thing, on a lot of these tools. So for me, it's an as-needed thing. If I notice that my boards aren't sliding very well and I'm getting too much friction, I wax the tables. If I notice that my blade is starting to burn a little bit and it's starting to act dull, probably time for a cleaning. Same thing with router bits. I clean them when I see that they need to be cleaned. As far as bearings go, I mean, most of these tools have like sealed bearings. There's really no need to lubricate those. You've got things like gearbox oil on a planer, but that's like, I don't know, thousands of hours or something like that before you need to change that stuff. Most of these tools are pretty fine. I would say that the bandsaw is probably, out of all the tools in the shop, the one that needs the most TLC, the one you have to pay the most attention to. And if you had a maintenance schedule on that, that's good, mostly because things change, right? The alignment changes, the blade can kind of move on the tire a little bit, the tire gets dirty, your bearings might loosen up, so you have to recalibrate those. That is the one tool, and here's the thing, that's the one tool that has bitten me in the butt by not maintaining it. Like the rest of the tools, they might start to not work as well, but nothing bad really happens, right? And then I go, okay, let me just lube it up or whatever. The bandsaw, on the other hand, if that blade starts to go off, you're gonna like drop a Hershey squirt in your pants, because it's gonna scare the crap out of you when that blade slips off the tire. And then you completely mangle the blade and possibly damage your table, your bearings, and all that stuff. So that is the one tool that neglecting it has really, proven to be problematic for me. So keep on top of that bandsaw. There may be other tools too.
We have a super chat from Ness G.
Oh, Ness.
Ness.
What's up, girlfriend?
She says, "Good day, Spags. Get some Dunkin' for your coffee mugs. How were those Tim Tams?"
Those are fantastic.
He actually didn't eat all of them because he felt like, you did eat one pack, like in one setting.
It was one of those things where, you know how you walk in the house and your dog has done something really bad and they just get that look on their face and you know they did something wrong? That's like, Nicole was like, what happened to the Tim Tams? And I did that sort of thing.
You're like, oh.
It was a scene.
There were like 3 left and they just sat in the refrigerator for like a month. And I finally just gave them to my brother. I'm like, here, you eat those. Get them out.
It's a seal that I don't like to break.
I know it is.
Because when I break it, I'm out of control.
Yeah.
So it's a.
He sits there in the corner.
Yeah, I'm crying to myself, eating my Tim Tams. They were fantastic, though.
She said, "Happy Friday. Good to be live with you."
The towels are great too.
Oh yeah.
I dry my bum with that almost every day. All right. So Matthew Hall wrote in. He says, "I have several tools and pieces of equipment that I found that don't fit the way that I work, but are still in great shape. I want to sell them to reinvest the money in the hobby. What do you find is the best way to go about that? Craigslist, eBay, classified, a woodworking forum? If it's a forum, which one do you recommend? If there's a good way of doing it locally, that would be great. Local would save me the hassle and expensive shipping." Well, all the above. I mean, none of these are, really what I would call the best, because every place where you post something for sale has its own little challenges and quirks, right? If you're looking for local, Craigslist is an option. You can call your local Woodworkers Association. Maybe they have a swap and shop sort of thing where you could put something up for sale. Those are definitely local people. You could find Facebook groups. I know our woodworking Facebook groups, we allow people to post items for sale there. eBay is also a place where you certainly could sell some stuff. I've used eBay, not to sell woodworking stuff, but I've sold like computer accessories and things that I'm getting rid of from the house and my other hobbies. So eBay works just fine for that. Facebook Marketplace is very hit or miss for me, but that's definitely something to try. Try them all. I mean, you're going to get a lot of spam and crap in your inbox, and a lot of, "Is it still available?"
Yeah.
Which is my favorite response.
I've been trying to get rid of a lateral filing cabinet, and I lost the key. Every single inquiry, "Do you have the key?" And it says right there, "I don't have the key." I don't
have the key. Yeah. It's always going to be a headache, man. But I think if you have an active Woodworkers Association, that might be one of your best bets to get a local buyer.
Isn't that how you found your first round of Powermatic? How did you meet him? I thought it was through the Woodworking Association.
I don't know. Maybe it might have been a forum. That's a good question. I don't know how we met. I know he was close by.
I thought it was the local guild.
Could have been.
You met him through.
Let's see. Chris Calnassi says, "Mark, curious how many times you have a catastrophic mistake that resulted in starting over. Have those numbers diminished as you've gone on? And along the same path, any techniques you use to avoid simple mistakes, aside from measure once, cut twice?" Thanks, Chris. Yeah, it is something that happens less and less, but it still happens. And I think Jason has been surprised as we work together. The more my attention is divided, the more likely I am to make a mistake. So having Jason here, the presence of another person who I'm responsible for their safety and their education in the shop, that is one more thing that my brain isn't used to handling. and I am more prone to make mistakes. And that comes down to just like whether it's a piece of chip out or a router drifting when I'm trying to make a mortise, little things like that. So they have decreased over time with the exception of the last year, which had a little bit of a spike of mistakes, but none of them are really catastrophic. In the past, I have had a couple of, I guess you can call them catastrophic mistakes, like gluing up a door frame and reversing one of my pieces or something. So the mortise and tenon joint is already together and the glue has already started to set up, but I need that piece to come out, flip it, and put it back in the proper way. I have done that, and that sucks because a lot of times the only thing to do is break the joint apart or cut it and then domino it or something.
Well, like what happened with the cabinet.
Yeah, so think about the credenza build. There was I think most people would, I don't know, maybe catastrophic isn't the right word, but when the base was already glued up, the rails are perfectly sculpted, and we find out that the base is too big, and I needed to cut it down and redo it. That was pretty disheartening.
Yeah,
but,
you were so upset.
But I had a fix, and I was able to fix it, and that's the key. So I think over time, there's fewer catastrophic mistakes because I think, number one, more experience. You're being more careful. But number two, you also know more tricks on how to fix them. So a lot of times something will happen, and I'll see Jay react, and he's really, like you could tell, he's visibly upset by it. But I also know that we could fix this pretty easily, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see here. I got a question from Scott M. If we were to make a guild project and someone wanted to buy it, would we be allowed if we say it's your design? So we have an FAQ. If you go to the woodwhispererguild.com/FAQ, it talks about building guild projects.
Well, let's read it. It says, guild designs are intended for personal use as educational projects. You are free to build as many as you like for yourself. No one is going to stop you from selling one or two of these projects to friends and family, but please refrain from offering guild projects as regular items.
So there you go. That's the policy. And I think, I know we have a policy on the free projects that you can build those and sell them. But the guild is a little different of a beast, I guess.
Well, and actually that policy is there.
It came because of the instructors.
Yeah, I have a looser personal policy, but it is easier to just have one policy that covers all the projects. I'm personally not as bothered by people building, selling, and profiting from my designs as long as they aren't like manufacturing a line of products that are things that I've designed. To protect the instructors, and in order to get some of the top tier builders, we have to have a little bit more protection for them because these are people who make a living with those designs. So for them, it's a problem if there's someone else building their stuff and selling it. So we have to have a policy that's a little bit more restrictive than that. Okay, I've got another one here from...
I'm gonna go get my power cord because my computer's ready to die.
Oh, darn. This is from Michael Sean Cedar. I just ordered the Powermatic 2244 drum sander and was curious what grit you use. Do you use just one, or do you like various grits? I always have various grits on hand. I tend to settle in on one because I'm kind of lazy. And I don't use the drum sander for much thicknessing. I only use it for surfacing prior to applying finish. So I typically have 150 to 180 on there, just because that is going to help me get rid of all my mill marks from the planer. I can dimension a little bit if I want to bring it down to a final size and kind of sneak up on it. But most importantly, it's getting rid of the machine marks so that my next step will just be like 180 grit sanding, and then I'm pretty much done, or a scraping or something like that.
Let's see, I got a question here from Michael Allen. Will walnut darken over time to match dark walnut stain on oak ply? Is it nuts to stain walnut with dark walnut stain to match ply and blend sapwood to heartwood? Help!
Not nuts at all. That is something that I would do. Walnut gets lighter over time, not darker. So if you want that to match something else, hit it with a little bit of the walnut stain. I have used cherry stain on cherry. I have used walnut stain or walnut Rubio on a walnut table, Jay's walnut table. That little bit of extra color, it is interesting. It doesn't scream that it's been stained. It just looks like a really intense chocolatey walnut. And especially if you have some sapwood there, the stain will help to disguise that sapwood a little bit more than if it was just left raw. So I think you're on the right track. You're not crazy for thinking in those terms if you're trying to match it to a stained oak. It still may not look perfect, just keep in mind, you put that same stain on walnut, it's going to get shades darker than that walnut stain on oak. So you still might not have the match that you were hoping for, but it might be close. And again, walnut gets lighter over time, not darker.
Mark SATX. I'll check my email. If it was a couple weeks ago, it might have got lost in the mix as I was getting ready for AWFS. I thought I did that. Oh well. I'll look in my email.
Ryan Murray wrote in. He says, "Welcome back. I know you've gotten some new tools and built some shop cabinets, miter saw station, since you've moved into your shop. Do you have any plans for a 2019 shop tour?" I'm sure I'm not the only one who'd like to see what you've done with the place. Yes, that is in the plans. In fact, we might even have a sponsor on that show, which is kind of weird for a shop tour. But yeah, I do plan to do one because this year was pretty big for us with the shed being built for wood storage in the backyard. Like you said, a bunch of cabinetry. This, I think it was all 2019 for the most part, late 2018. There's just been a lot that's been done to the shop, a couple tool additions and things like that. So absolutely, we'll call it a late, fall 2019 shop tour.
There we go.
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
Quick question for you guys, just kind of an informal survey. Do you prefer a well-edited shop tour where it's like a lot more in the way of voiceover, so you're seeing all the stuff, but the explanation is in voiceover? Or do you like a really casual walk-through shop tour where the person is talking like this and talking off the top of their head and pointing things out, which potentially makes it a much longer video? What kind of shop tour do you prefer? Shorter, a little more editing?
Can I just do a straw poll because my whole thing's going to be flooded?
Well, it's already out of the gate and the cat's out of the bag, sister.
I'm going to make a straw poll and I'm going to put it in the chat and you guys can vote.
Because this is going to help me. I have a lot to show, but sometimes I'll be watching shop tours and listening to the person's explanation of why they put this here and what is in that location. It gets a little bit long in the tooth.
So what's the question?
Do you prefer well-edited voiceover shop tour? That's a long question. Why don't you just let it go?
I'm going to write it.
Oh, she's working on it. You could just say, what kind of shop tour do you like?
Oh, there we go.
And then make your options. This is good stuff to do live.
I know.
All right, I'm going to go to another question while this happens.
What was the second one you asked them? Just like a personal tour?
Yeah, it's a well-edited voiceover. The other one is a much more casual, here's everything in my shop, this is what I put in here. And then usually there's someone with a camera who can move the camera around.
Yeah, like a casual guided tour.
Yeah, a casual guided tour.
How do you prefer your shop tour?
See, you don't even need to do this. I'm looking at the answers and the vast majority of them, so far all of them, are actually, they want the candid, casual, detailed tour.
That's honestly what I would want. Like,
Okay.
like
Well, the
almost
reason I
like
say that-
what is it? The come into my home,
Yeah,
visit me, and let me show you my things.
that sounds creepy.
I know it does.
Because I did see someone else's shop tour that had a little bit more editing done to it. And I was like, oh, I have enough time to watch this one, right?
Yeah.
But my thinking on this might be different. I'm not watching shop tours
I
the same reason
put the
other
straw
people
poll
are.
up.
All right, there's the damn straw poll.
Literally everyone said casual.
Yeah, so you don't
there
have
might
to.
be. Here's the thing, though. There might be somebody watching and going, "Well, I can't say scripted because everybody else is saying casual."
No, you think that people are that easily peer pressured?
I don't know.
Chris Kalinassi says option 3, live. Actually, you spelled it live what? All right, another question while everyone is frantically answering the straw poll. Okay, Ryan Murray says, welcome back. Whoops.
MTV
That
Crib.
was the one I just
That's what
read.
I was thinking, MTV Cribs.
Yo, 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 welcome to my crib, yo. I have video games in my living room. All right, happy Friday. So this is Nick Silva. He says, I love the movie poster project. I'm about to build one for a family member's birthday. In hindsight, do you have any recommendations or gotchas that you ran into while building it, or things that you would change if building it again? Nope. Don't think so, man.
I love it when there's simple answers like that. No.
Nope.
No.
Ventilation is probably the only thing. If you plan on having this be something that's going to stay on for a while, those LEDs can really heat up. So either having a little, put a little computer fan in there and a vent in the bottom to allow fresh air to come in, that might be something to do. But for us, it's not on long enough for me to really worry about it. I guess the only thing is just possibly consider, gosh, I hate to recommend it because it sounds dangerous, but glass over plexiglass. Plexiglass is so friggin' expensive. It's for a project like that, it almost made me go, wait, why am I building this? I should just buy one of these pre-made light boxes. This is crazy. So yeah, the plexiglass is really expensive. If you could find an alternative to the plexiglass, or possibly a low, no frills way to save a little bit of money, is to get one piece of plexiglass and then tape your poster to the back of it so it stays with the front glass cover, and don't sandwich it between two pieces. But if you buy your stuff at Home Depot, you're not going to be able to find a sheet that gives you one. You have to buy a sheet big enough for two, even just to get the one that you want. So now you got two of them anyway.
Someone had asked me, I think I saw it in maybe the comments, that they had an old poster that was not two-sided. Could they still use that poster in that? And
single-sided posters work fine. They just don't have as much punch and color.
Yeah.
It doesn't look as vivid. Because the double-sided poster, think about it, it's color on both
White,
sides, and anywhere it's light and a whiter color,
But they
you
still
get
work.
more light.
Yeah.
So yeah, it still works, but you'll have a little bit more of a just a hazy appearance over the whole thing, because the white on the back of the poster is diluting all the color.
But there's a lot of posters that don't come double-sided. So if you really love that poster, then, like for me, we used to have a Goonies poster in there. I loved it. But we couldn't find it in double-sided, so I was very sad.
Right.
It went away.
Okay, there's at least one person who thinks an edited version is more appealing.
I'm gonna look at my straw poll.
Okay, let's see. Just rewatched your clamp episode from 2013. Has your favorite parallel clamp changed? I still have the same parallel clamps on the wall. They're still the same Jet parallel clamps. Only this year, for the first time, as much as we've talked about, I mean, the two big dogs in that sort of category are like Bessie and Jet, right? Only this year has Bessie finally come up with a design where it doesn't just drop the head on its own.
Oh, yeah.
That has always been, like, no matter what little add-ons they put into that clamp, no matter what they change, until they stop that head from sliding down and slamming on top of my hand, I would never recommend someone get a Bessie parallel clamp over a Jet if you don't already have sets going, right? If you already have some Bessie and you're happy with them, stick with them. They make great clamps. But it's the fact that it always slid down. That changed this year. So the new, I don't remember, their names are a little confusing to me, but the Bessie K-Body Revo something, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. The newest model has a locking system where if you let go of the handle portion of the head, if you let go of that and put your hand down here, it's not going to slide down and crush your hand. I'm like, yes, that's what was missing. So now I would say the Bessies right now are on par with the Jet, possibly better than the Jet, because the Jets haven't changed in like 10 years. It's still the same. They've had the same design and they've done nothing to really modify it, change it, update it. But it's a clamp. I mean, most of the time when you see updates on clamps, it's like, oh, we put this thing here. And it's like, well, that's fantastic. But does it still clamp? Okay, good. It does what I need it to do, right? So now I change my answer on Bessie to the newest ones are an absolute buy. I consider them comparable to the Jets. But I've got a nice collection of Jets. So that's still my favorite.
And they are a sponsor.
Because that's what I have. Well, Powermatic's a sponsor.
Well, Powermatic and Jet.
Yeah.
They're part of the same
which explains
company.
why I have so many of them.
So
I had them before they were a sponsor.
we have to stop the show right now because we just
shoot.
got, I don't know if he's joking, but Chad, seriously, if you're serious, we need to talk.
Oh. Chad, you live in Denver?
I know. I'm like, dude, you have no idea how much I hate meal planning.
Well, here's the thing. I love cooking.
Yeah.
I hate shopping.
Yes.
And I also don't like the process of, like, when you have a recipe, and you guys know how this is, right? It calls for usually 2 or 3 things that really are only pertaining to that recipe. So then you have leftover ginger.
Yeah.
And then you got to find another thing that uses ginger, right?
Yeah.
But that's going to bring in 2 or 3 other things you don't have that you're not going to need after that recipe. So, like, the whole cooking process for us, this is why we tend to gravitate.
I don't mind necessarily shopping.
Yeah.
I just don't like planning the meals.
But that's all part of the shopping process, right? You got to know what to buy. So yeah, we're terrible at this. But that's why we tend to do the lazy thing, which is buy sometimes those, because here's the other thing. We don't want to eat fast food.
No.
We don't want to order out all the time. And I don't mind cooking. And so the answer for us,
picky eaters with kids.
Right, exactly. So the answer for us are those meal services. And a lot of times, 4:30 rolls around, I'm done work, I'll hop in there, and if there's a little kit, man, I love doing it. I get into it. I made some kind of
tried them all.
Risotto thing.
We've done HelloFresh. We've done Blue Apron. We've done Plated.
But they're expensive.
They're expensive, and there's a lot of waste.
And wasteful.
So King Soopers, which is part of the Kroger brand, they have, I can't remember what it's called, but you could actually buy kits, and I'm like, and they're cheaper. So I'm like, I'm gonna try it. We'll see. And it was actually really nice. So
there you go.
So
yeah, if you're serious, apparently Nicole's ready to sell my services in exchange for
I'll totally sell his
some
services.
personal chefing. What do you think about Bora clamps? I don't have any Bora clamps, but they seem decent from what I've seen.
They're part of Affinity Tools, right?
Yeah, what I have is their straight edge guide.
We've worked with them in the past on giveaways and stuff like that. Speaking of giveaways, this is the last week to put your name, if you live in the US or Canada, head on over to the woodwhisperer.com/giveaway, and I'm giving away a 13-inch jet planer.
Yes.
Bench planer.
Yes.
So
Helical head planer.
Over $700, and they just came out, brand new.
I can answer this question. Do you still collaborate with Steve Ramsey, Woodworkers Fighting Cancer? That was a one-time thing, and that was like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
We only collaborated once on that, but no, we do not currently
He's
collaborate.
doing his own thing.
He's doing his thing.
I will say, since you brought up Woodworkers Fighting Cancer, I chose the charity. We're going to go with Cancer Research Institute again.
Oh, cool.
I really like what they're doing with immunotherapy research, and it's all cancers.
Yeah.
I will put a link in the chat to our page. Nothing's done yet, but that's where we're gonna kind of center around raising money for Woodworkers Fighting Cancer this year.
We should probably, you know what else would be nice to do a poll on, sort of, if we could find a reasonable way to get the answers as suggestions.
Here's the problem with I need it to be digital. Not all cancer charities have the means to do fundraising online.
No. What I'm talking about is the project.
Oh, the project!
Suggestions for the project that we build.
Yeah.
That is one thing every year that is very hard for me to do, is pick an ideal project. We usually do something that's either for kids or for the kitchen. We try to do things that are widely appealing to a bunch of people, so that we can...
In hindsight, we're like, oh, the bread box would have been good.
Bread box would have been a pretty good one, because there's not a lot of people building bread boxes. Yeah. So that's the thing. It's got to be something that people can't just go into a picture they took 5 years ago and say, here's my build. Like, we need it to be either unique, or we need to put something special on it so that it becomes relevant to the build. Yeah. So yeah, we'll take suggestions.
So I put a link in the chat for CRI, by Cancer Research Institute. That's going to be our homepage of raising funds for cancer charity. I really do like the research that they're doing. Yeah, that's good. Jason Barr wants to know, waste? Are the servings really big? When we're talking about waste, we're talking about the companies that ship the food to you, and it comes in a giant box with lots of freeze packs, and styrofoam, wrap and plastic. It's a lot of garbage waste is what we mean by that. And I know that some of them are, recycle, but there's parts to recycling too that's not so good. Chris Calnassi says, Mark, in regards to clamps, panel clamps, Woodpeckers has some extreme new technology with theirs or something. Thoughts? We haven't been getting Woodpeckers stuff. Maybe I haven't been saying kind enough words about them. I don't know. You're talking about the clamp. What do they call it? Clampzilla panel clamps. Clampzilla. So they have these new panel clamps. I haven't had a hands-on with them, so take this with a grain of salt. But they are not a new idea. There have been, I used to actually own them. I think Rockler made, or at least sold for a period of time. One's made out of wood. So you have these little clamping implements that would grab onto the side, and then you would run a caul across the top and bottom. And what it does is, as it pulls this way,
clamps come in from the side. So at the same time that it's pushing those panels together, those two cauls come down and squeeze from the top and bottom. Now the wooden ones, I find that they didn't really work that well. I mean, they could keep the panel generally flat, but it really wouldn't do the same thing that, like, for instance, I use a domino for, to make sure that every joint is like perfect, no more than a 32nd of an inch proud or recessed, which is easy to then, work on the panel afterwards. So I never really liked the wood ones. And there's another reason why I don't like them, and the Clampzilla will suffer from the same fate, and that is getting the material in it. So if you look at the clamp and look at the pictures and watch the videos, you will generally, at least from what I've seen, you're not going to see someone assembling this glue up. You always see the finished assembly. The way they are shaped, it's not like when you're doing a regular glue up and you have your standard Bessie or jet clamps and you just come over, drop them on, tighten it up, drop it on, tighten it up. The boards have to be, first of all, the thing has to be set up for whatever the width is. There's usually little pins that you can move the clamp head to get you within the range you need to be. Then you have this thing already assembled, and you kind of have to either assemble the clamps around your panel glue up or slide the boards in. And when you think about how you do a glue up, that's really a strange process to add into the mix, and a lot of extra time getting these clamps all set up and ready to go while the glue is drying. So unless I'm wrong, I don't know if they have a quick release system that allows you to put the to put all the clamps down, put your boards on top, get the boards together, then secure each clamp, and now tighten it down. If it does that, then it gets a big thumbs up from me, because I haven't seen that yet. If it doesn't, this means you're actually trying to do some kind of a glue up and sliding your boards into these clamps or sliding the clamps over the boards. And if that's the case, these are probably going to be great wall decorations, if we're being totally honest here. So something to think about. But I should go watch the videos and just double check but I'm giving you the possibility that they might have a solution for that. Woodpeckers is brilliant with their engineering. They might have a solution.
I just wanted to say hello to Mitch. Mitch, if you're watching,
hey,
hi.
Mitch.
I finally got a chance to meet Mitch from MLCS and Eagle America at AWFS. So I thought that there was actually a number of people. I've only talked to him.
Yeah, we got to hang out with Mitch.
Yeah.
I saw him at another show before.
Yeah.
We go way back.
And Jeannie from Tight Bond.
Oh, by the way, I know Mitch likes it when we mentioned the Merrill clamp. Merrill? Your mom's poor name that we butcher all the time. Jason, so my shop assistant Jason, yesterday, I had an all computer day, right?
Yeah.
All focused on editing and stuff like that and designing the next project. So Jay took the time to come into the shop and build a frame for his wife, an 8x10 picture frame. So he made this little frame out of cherry, and I came in periodically to help him out with things, but we got to use the Merrill clamp on that thing, and man, that thing is a beast.
Yeah.
Love that clamp.
Yeah.
He was also very impressed by it.
Let's see, what do we got here? I have a super chat from Russell. Mark, have you ever had gadget addiction? I laugh because, yes. Lately, I found myself wanting to buy every tool I see in a YouTube video, whether I need it or not.
My name is Mark, and I suffer from gadget addiction.
Yes.
I am one of the most guilty parties when it comes to being addicted to gadgets and buying things I don't need.
And not just tools.
No.
He loves home theater.
I'm actually worse outside of the shop.
He loves electronics. He loves, home automation.
I get excited when I have to buy, extra RAID drives for my computer, and I sit there and I'm watching YouTube videos, and I'm like, Nicole, did you know that Synology has this feature, but QNAP doesn't? And she's like, I don't care.
Does it do what I need to do?
I'm reading my People magazine and why the princess moms are friends now. It's very important stuff. Right? Yeah, I actually have gadget addiction problems.
Yeah.
I love home automation.
Oh, you do.
So I really get into, Nest and smart things. We might be working with SimpliSafe pretty soon. So I'm excited to dig into that stuff. I'm a gadget holic, and this is why I've started to use eBay to offload all those gadgets that are still valuable to someone, but have moved beyond their usefulness for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suffer from it. It's also a reason why I like companies like Festool and companies like Woodpeckers. Price point aside, these are companies who just strike me as having fun with it. Like, maybe not so much Festool. Fun might not be the right word. It's very profit driven, right? And of course, Woodpeckers wants a profit too. But they're trying new things. They're taking an idea, maybe a little seed of an idea, and expanding it out to this amazing, really expensive, but amazing tool or accessory. And that's why I love it so much. I love to see companies that harness the excitement of building things with your hands. And yes, it's out of a lot of people's price range, and not everyone's going to be able to buy one, but would you rather no one tried? Would you rather no one innovated and came up with new ideas? Like, criticize the domino all day long if you want to, but the domino was one of the biggest game changers in structural woodworking, since the table saw. Like, it's a huge paradigm shift for making good quality joinery quickly. And who else is doing that level of innovation? Everyone's just building a slightly different mousetrap, and that sucks. So I am absolutely on the gadget train, and that is why I gravitate toward these companies who are trying new things and doing different things.
Craig in the chat room says, OMG, love Simply Safe. He's really excited.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about it.
He's like watching all the videos and all. Yeah, he's really excited. We got how do you pronounce his Blaze?
That is Blaze.
Blaze.
Morin, I guess.
I'm thinking Blaze. Hey Mark, any ideas about the best glue for lamination meant to become rifle stock?
Well, a lamination is just pieces of wood being glued together. Almost any wood glue is going to do that satisfactorily for you. I don't know that you need to do anything special. So I would use a glue that maybe hides your glue line the best. So if you're doing like a walnut stock, you might use Type-On 3. Type-On actually even has a dark colored glue. It's specifically made for darker woods like walnut to make that glue line even less visible. If you just use yellow glue or Type-On Original, you're going to have a light seam there that's much more noticeable in the final product. But
well,
as
and
far
did we
as,
see that they had a laminated, it's floor adhesive.
that's a different thing.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
But he's laminating for a rifle stock.
Right.
He's just gluing up to get the thickness he wants. And for that, it's a face-to-face glue joint. Any glue is going to work just fine for that.
There you go. Are you done with Patreon?
I'm done with my questions.
Patreon questions. Let's see. Sideboard Samurai asked a question earlier. By the way, these are all questions I grabbed at the top of the show.
Okay.
So hopefully you're still around.
They're still here, yeah.
If you are on a budget and you need to purchase a table saw, would you consider purchasing a job site table saw versus a cabinet saw?
Of course. I mean, if it was the difference between can I get a table saw or not get a table saw, yeah, there's plenty of job site saws that can do the job. You can get, you could build stands for them to expand the size of the table. You might be able to upgrade the fence. A job site table saw is better than no table saw. Ideally, though, if you are staying in the same place all the time and you're going to do a lot of this stuff, it's probably worth it if you can stretch your budget to get a bigger, more powerful saw. You'll just be happier with it. It'll be more accurate, less finicky, and it'll just be more of a pleasure.
Less wobbly?
Use. It'll be less wobbly. It's not portable.
Yeah.
Anything that's portable tends to be a little bit harder to keep calibrated and stuff like that.
Troy Jacobson says, I'm about to do a glue up for bent lamination. When can this be done dry, and when does it need help, such as steam bending? In this case, it'll be about 5 plies of 1/8 walnut and ash.
Well, it depends, Troy. It depends on the thickness of the plies, the species of the wood, and the severity of the bend. And then, even at that, it may depend on the pieces that you have. It's a natural material. So the exact composition of this stack may not be totally the same as this other stack. So you don't really know until you do it. And that's why a lot of times we do dry runs. So if you take those pieces, put them in your forms, bend them, and you don't hear any cracking, you're fine. Throw glue on there and you're done with it. Steam bending, I guess you could like pre-wet your strips or something like that. But generally speaking, if you're doing steam bending, you're not doing laminations. You're just doing one big piece that then gets bent to shape. So if the pieces are starting to crack on your bent lamination, you might consider, if you have a steam box, you could potentially steam all the strips and then put them together with the glue. But ultimately, I don't even know how you would pull that off because you're going to bring them out of the steam box, apply glue to all the strips. By the time you do that, they're cool. So one thing you might be able to do is moisten them down so they will stay wet through the glue up process, or at least a little bit more damp that might help. But anytime I've done bent lamination, if you're at that point and you're having that many problems, cut your strips thinner. Just go with more strips at a less thickness or words are just not my thing today.
I rub off.
You just want them to be thinner so that they could take a more severe bend.
Luther Woodworks, back on the table saw, said just stay away from the aluminum top table saws.
Yeah. I mean, I've used those before, but again, I'd rather someone have an aluminum top table saw than no table saw. If it meant the difference between them starting woodworking or not. But yes, those aluminum top ones can be tricky to deal with sometimes.
Richard Tapper just did a super chat. He said, speaking of Festool domino, if you could have only one Festool domino, which would you buy, the 500 or the 700?
Well, I happen to have an article on this on my website.
Yes.
If you go to our website and search, or even just search domino, you'll probably find
domino.
that article. I have an article talking about why I prefer the domino 500 over the 700. If you want to cover all your bases, the 700 is the only way to do it.
There you go. I'm going to put a link in the chat.
So you can buy an adapter for the 700 that allows you to do the smaller format dominoes, but 99% of the work that I do with a domino is with the 500. That means I've got the smaller format tool that's easier to move around, easier to handle. The big domino 700 is large and unwieldy, and unless you're doing really big pieces, I find it a little bit harder to work with. So I would pick the one that satisfies, the vast majority of the things that I'm going to need it for.
So the guy that's on your shirt he asked a question. I caught the last wood talk. Good stuff. Are you completely cordless in the yard yet, or just the mower? I love not having gas around anymore.
No, I am cordless with the exception of I've got a blower. I think it's a Toro, the one that actually is a mulcher as well. So that is a power cord one. I wish it was cordless, but I got to plug that guy in to suck up leaves and mulch them into a bag. The edger, I have an edger already, like a little Black & Decker edger. That one is corded, and I haven't gone completely cordless on that. But I think those two were the only ones.
Michael Gomez, Mark, woodworking rasp,
Shinto.
Kutzall.
I like the traditional hand-stitched rasps. Kutzall makes some good ones. I've got a few Kutzall rasps. Shinto, I have one, but I hardly ever use it. I don't know why.
Which one do you use?
I use, what do you call it? The French company. RU rasps.
RU rasps. But I don't know. Are they still in business?
Who knows this month? I have no idea. I'm assuming they are.
Yeah.
They're in business. They're not in business. They're in business. They're not in business.
There you go.
But it's hard to get a better rasp than a hand-stitched RU rasp.
There you go. We're going long today.
Who is William Patrick?
This guy.
It's this guy. He does the Grain Knockers podcast. Because I'm part of Grain Knockers Nation, Nicole.
Oh, okay.
Because I was on the show.
Were you?
Yeah.
The Splinter Finger. I see the book, I'm assuming he's talking about Essential Joinery.
Yes.
Has a PDF, a paperback, and a hardcover.
That is incorrect.
Yeah, it doesn't have a hardcover.
No, it doesn't have a PDF.
It doesn't have a PDF. And the hardcover is extremely limited.
So what is he talking about?
I don't know. Does it come?
You see the book? Well, wait. He might be talking about essential or hybrid woodworking. Hybrid woodworking is in all formats. They are, for some reason, dragging their feet on getting the digital PDF version or Kindle version of the Essential Joinery book. I don't know why. I don't work for the publisher, so I don't know.
Yeah, and hybrid woodworking is now under Random House.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
So Pop Woodworking sold everything off. Now Random House Penguin. I think it is
Random House Penguin.
They are now in control of hybrid woodworking and hopefully will give us a better experience because I got to tell you, it wasn't great.
The
before.
Hybrid woodworking book on Amazon is only Kindle and paperback. There's
never been a hardcover in English.
In English.
We had a German hardcover and I think like a Korean hardcover.
Yeah.
What was the question?
I think he was just asking about the 3 versions.
Well, what about them?
If they're there, I don't know.
Go back to the question. You're on Amazon. I can't read what he wrote.
I see the book as a PDF, a paperback, and a hardback.
So he has a question. Does it come in all 3 versions?
And the answer is no. I mean, it has. We have the PDF, but that went out special to...
I have a PDF, but you can't have it, is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You can't buy a PDF. at this time.
Oh, I just dripped coffee.
The hardcovers were a
mess over here.
limited edition run. The only hardcovers left are the ones that have the flaw at the bottom. It's nothing. But once those are gone, there's no more hardcovers of Essential Joinery. Okay. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, it does. We spent way too much time on it, actually. What else do we have?
Big Bubba, not a rubber.
I like this guy already.
Said, hi Nicole, feel free to hush me on this. Did you all announce the scholarship stuff yet? By stuff, winners? No.
Not yet.
I am overwhelmed at the moment. I have to go through 100 applications. So you'll know, I promise. I'll be like screaming it. You'll get if you applied, you will get an email no matter what.
Yeah. So Gazang says, not cordless, but completely electric? Yes.
Yes.
I don't have any gas cans. I got no gas.
No gas.
No gas.
Let's see. Tim JB had asked, are there any resources when using the free version of SketchUp?
No shit. I just cursed, sorry. But I had to. It's a weird science reference.
I think you ruin the reference when you tell them what the reference is.
It's like laughing at my own joke.
Yeah. So he wants to know if there's any resources using the free version of SketchUp for models to use for specific bits such as adjustable Freud rail and style bits that you aren't making from scratch. I don't have a clue.
There might be. There's a lot of stuff in the 3D warehouse that you could probably dig into. I've never even...
Is that a website, 3D warehouse?
It's the 3D warehouse is at least that's what they used to call it. I don't know if Trimble changed things, but there is like an online resource where you can upload your models. So you can search their database and there are publicly accessible SketchUp models for things. So like if you're doing a shop arrangement and you want to have a table saw, there's plenty of table saws that have been created in SketchUp that you could just copy and paste into your model.
Didn't we used to, on the Wood Talk forum, didn't we used to have like a whole SketchUp section?
I think we still do.
Oh, do we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a resource. Wood Talk online.
You know, we still have a forum?
Yeah.
I don't really even run it anymore.
No.
Our buddy Kev is pretty much in charge there. I just come there to do software updates and to like resolve major issues.
Yeah. Last question.
Oh, hell.
Matt Van Overloop, any plans to ever incorporate stringing inlay into any free site
Sure.
products?
I mean, probably not like, really extensive classic string inlay, but I love on the, what was it? I think it was the Blacker House chair that we did at William Ing's, has those little flower stems and the petals.
I love that.
And all you really need to do is kind of freehand a single line in whatever shape you want, follow a line or a tracing, and then you just get very thin holly or maple, something light colored, very thin, soak it in hot water, and then you just kind of drive it into that slot and trim it flush. It's a really cool technique, but I'm more likely to go into the freehand style and not so much those kind of circular patterns that you can do sometimes. But yeah, I think we'll do that at some point because I think it's one of the easiest kinds of inlays you can do for a decorative effect.
Ray Hughes sent me an email.
Oh, Ray!
And he just wanted to say thank you. Since you're talking about inlay, he used your inlay video that's like 45 minutes long that goes against all of YouTube's recommendations on what to do in a video. And he sent over a bed that he did with beautiful inlay.
Oh, so he kind of did our leaf inlay, but expanded on it.
I love it. So
Dude,
you
that
can't
looks
see
fantastic.
this, but Ray, if you're watching, beautiful job on that.
Well, we can start to display pictures. I could put pictures in there if I have them ahead of time.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
Well, very good.
So.
You want to pick a winner for the free guild project?
Sure.
I could pick one here. For possibly screwing up the person's gender, Zoe Snow.
Zoe, if you're watching this, send me an email, nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com, and I will get you set up with a project of your choice in the guild.
What's nice is I feel like we can be as like controversial or politically incorrect as we want, as long as we reward people with a free thing at the end of the show.
We're
it's like
sorry.
All is forgiven, right? I kind of like that idea. Somebody wants to know, Ken Smith, can we remind him how he can get a flawed hardcover?
Oh, of course. You go over to the woodwhispererguild.com and you click store. And under store, there's a project or
All of our books are there.
all the books.
But
Don't
this
do
says
this is not the bundle. This
Essential
is just
Joinery.
standalone.
Yeah, Essential Joinery hardcover flawed is what it says, and it's $20.
$20.
Limited supply. My mom wants them out of her house.
I want them out of my house.
You guys know my mom's moving.
Yeah.
It's going to be kind of crazy.
Yeah.
She's maybe she doesn't want me to talk about it, but
That's all right.
She's probably moving to Jersey pretty soon, which is, you would think I would see her more because she's just in Phoenix. I probably will see her more when she's in Jersey. I just don't want to go to Phoenix.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that is it.
Sweet. All right. Well, really hope you guys have a good weekend.
Yeah. And again, thanks to everybody that came to the Type On booth at
How great was that?
AWFS. It was
Did you
really
know how
awesome.
famous you were?
I'm
You
not.
probably had no idea.
You're silly.
You were so famous.
No.
It was actually really, really fun. The second day was a little slow. First day was like bananas. But the second day, well, the thing is, I don't know if those shows are getting the kind of foot traffic they used to get. It's certainly smaller than it used to be. But it was great meeting so many people, taking photos and shaking hands and putting faces with names. Meeting some people who I kind of only see, like Chris.
Yeah.
We only see him at these
Every
trade
2
shows. So
years.
every 2 years we get to catch up with some friends. So yeah, it's always a good time.
Somebody asked if the books are going to be signed, and they will be signed.
They are already signed,
Yeah.
and many of them are already pre-stuffed
With the sticker.
in an envelope with our special, hold on, do I have enough
Yeah, you
length
got
here?
enough.
So you kind of get in on a little bonus here. So we put these little thank you cards into every book, and then we also have a sticker called Essential Joinery Founding Supporter. And even though you're technically not a founding supporter,
still get the sticker.
you're going to get a sticker most likely because it's already stuffed in the darn book.
Because like, is there a page on why she's moving to New Jersey?
Let's add it to the FAQ.
Yeah, we'll add it to the FAQ.
That'd be a good
yeah,
one.
Yeah. I just wanted to send a quick.
LOL, first time Jersey has been preferable over anywhere. Yeah, Jersey's not the state you move to, it's the state you move from.
Yeah. Scott Kincaid from KincaidWoodworking.com sent me a nice little email. He came up along with, he said, my friend, the big guy with the white beard. And they were talking to us about the Woodmaster drum sander. Remember?
Yeah,
He reminded me of my dad.
Oh, this is the big white beard guy.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
I remember him.
I just wanted
military guy, right? A veteran, I believe.
So I just
we'll
wanted
remember
to
this
say, hi, Scott. Thanks for the email.
Yeah,
and,
thank you, Scott.
Thanks for coming out.
That's
So,
fantastic.
All right.
And look, I like Jersey.
I know.
I'm from there. It's in my blood. They make the best pizza ever. New York, forget about you. Chicago, pizza cake. Jersey, they also have great tomatoes.
Pizza cake.
And the shore is fantastic. Some parts, not all of them. If you're from Jersey, you know this already.
Yeah.
So whatever. What are you going to do? All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. And we got to go load up some wood because Jay just came back with a load of mahogany and Sippo, because they didn't have 10-quarter mahogany.
When Jason came in, Kojak Silverick said, hi, Jay.
Oh, how did he know Jay came in?
I think he heard
Well,
the door.
I waved at Jay, so maybe that was it too. A dead giveaway.
Hello.
Jay said hello. Chicago pizza all the way. Look, Tim. Can we really call it pizza when it's really more cake with sauce on it? I mean, honestly, it's almost like a thick soup when it's from Chicago.
It's all right.
I
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's upside down. Like, I don't know what you guys are doing over there. What's wrong with you? All right, thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye.
We'll catch you next time. I love Vegas.